Welcome back to the channel, guys. I'm Jaron Lucas, for those of you who are new here. And today we are going to dig through a series of campaigns I'm running through on lemlist. As you can currently see, I'm getting a 70% open rate on them. I'm getting a 22% reply rate, 12% interested. And so if you're interested in getting these kinds of results on your outbound campaigns, this is something that I've really been optimizing lately. I've been focused on really the wording behind outbound campaigns for almost a decade now. So this is something that I really have placed a lot of focus on throughout my career, and it's allowed me to do everything from get meetings with CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. It's allowed me to meet investors, raise $2 million for one of my first startups, and help companies achieve 100 million in sales. I mean, it really all comes down to these skills here. So I think for any entrepreneurs out there, this is going to be extremely helpful learning the skill. And I'm actually going to walk you through setting up some of these campaigns so you can do it yourself. Now, lemlist here is an app that I really recommend you try out. And I mean, I really searched every single app out there right now to test like how they perform for outbound campaigns. This is something I'm really getting serious about, automating my entire life and my communications. And what I wanted to do is really scale my outbound. Like before, I would have like a draft email open, and then I would copy and paste it into another email, maybe have a spreadsheet open, copy and paste email, copy and paste first name. Like that does not work anymore. Like you have to move faster in today's society. And most importantly, you can't track those. If you've read my ebook, Growing with Market Science, hopefully you already have read it. If not, we'll put a link below in the comments. I think right now we still have the secret to visualization down there, but we're going to change that. And you can also just go to my homepage and download it there. In Growing with Market Science, it's really about implementing the scientific method into your sales and marketing campaigns. And if you're doing all of this kind of stuff manually, you just can't track those results. And as you can see here, we'll also notice that I'm A/B testing a lot of these campaigns to constantly optimize them. So anyway, lemlist, I'll save you a bunch of time. The reason why this is a great piece of software is because it's campaign based. Like you can see some of the campaigns that I'm running here. I'll explain some of those in a bit. If you look at a lot of other CRMs, they're solely based around like, they kind of assume that you have one business on an ongoing basis and one job role, and they're more account based. Account based selling is a whole method of sales, and they tend to be based around that. And that doesn't really work if you're an entrepreneur and you're trying out a lot of different things all the time. Or let's say that you want to go to a conference and set up a bunch of meetings there. Like that could be just a separate campaign, and lemlist is really creative for that. So I'm going to go ahead and save you a lot of time and just get lemlist. Now, if you have any questions during this live stream, my whole channel is moving to live stream. So if you have any questions during this episode, I'll be periodically reviewing the chat box. So feel free to type whatever you want in there. Now, moving on, let's walk through some of these campaigns I have open. The first we'll go through is this previous contact follow-up. So I recently went through all of my business cards and put all of those into a CSV file. The reason why I'm doing that is because I want to tell all these people about market science and really spread the word about this thing I'm doing right now, which is boiling down the tactics that have created 100 million in sales for several companies now, and boiled them down into an easy to follow approach that revolves around an agile scientific model of creating marketing strategies. So I want to tell all these people about that, and in case it can help them or help someone that they know. And so, you'll see, okay, on this campaign, I have a 54% open rate. I've only sent about, these are all business cards that I've gotten in the last 2 years. So it's like a very specific genre of even the contacts I have. And that makes me able to target my message better. And so, I have 184 sent. I have a bunch more that still need to be sent. You can just see how it auto populates everything I'm doing. So, and the message I'm sending them is catch up plus ebook. Hey, first name, dang, can you believe how long it's been since we spoke? Wanted to send some news. I recently wrote a book on a scientific agile method for developing successful growth strategies, market science. And I'd like to pass it along in case it could help anyone you know or you. A lot of people I know need this book. It's a really great book and will give clarity to any founder who is struggling with sales. Want to check it out. So you'll notice I keep it pretty casual, and that's really the key here in marketing today in general is like, you got to get away from the corporate speak and move straight into how would you actually talk to a person. And so when I send emails like this, I read over it. I mean, it takes me a couple hours to set up any given email because I'm putting a lot of thought into what I'm saying. What I'm doing is I'm really putting myself in their shoes and asking myself, okay, I met this guy once. Some of these people I know really well, but okay, I met this guy once. Someone sends me this. Do I care? Am I going to respond? And so that's the thought process that I'm going about this with. And one thing is like, if I just sent like, hey, wanted to send you some news. I recently wrote a book. I mean, that's not terrible, but it sounds pretty generic. And so that's why I put in this first sentence and use the word dang, because no one's using that in business emails. So yeah, you can see it's pretty simple. Like once you get to the review stage, I mean, usually I'll read over my emails one by one, but on this campaign, I'm actually doing it by the 10. So I'll just kind of look over who I'm sending it to. If there's anyone in particular, like Danny's a buddy of mine, so I'd probably go in there. Bobby just emailed me yesterday. So there are certain people in here who I'm going to email more personally, and everyone else, they're on auto campaign. And then what I'm doing after this, I'm not going to talk about it too much in this video, but for people who are responding, then they actually go into my HubSpot CRM. And those are people who I want to keep in touch with on an ongoing basis. And you're in the business of maintaining relationships with investors. Like, let's actually go into that one. So I have this one I haven't sent yet, but you can see I have 34 investors. I, by the way, know a lot more than 34 investors, but these are 34 investors I've added to this campaign so far. And so I'm sending them one message, but then, I have this whole other campaign I'm doing. With this one, I actually have an employee in Ukraine who used to work for one of the largest, if not the largest, lead generation firms. He is a pro at putting these lists together. So like I have one campaign I'm doing where we're targeting companies who have raised between $2 and $10 million in the last 7 to 24 months. And I'm targeting both their investors and their founders. Their founders, I'm asking to go on my podcast, which is brand new. You'll notice, as I mentioned, my whole channel, I'm moving it into live stream. And this is a live stream show that I just started doing this week. You can go check out the first 2 episodes. They're really interesting. We had really interesting conversations. What you're going to notice is like the beginning gets a lot better, a lot more professional. I have my video editor working on some cool stuff for that right now. But what I'm getting at the core is with all of these conversations I'm doing. And by the way, in general, I'm going to try to live stream every day at 4:15. No promises, especially no promises on Friday. And this is only going to be weekdays. But tune in if you are an entrepreneur that is starting a company and looking for kind of the newest like little hacks that I'm finding and different strategies that I'm using right now. And so, yeah, like, I have someone in the Ukraine who provides me like this ongoing daily list of people who I can, I get their Facebook info, I get their Twitter, I get their AngelList contact. Like I can kind of contact them from anywhere. I can friend them places, and I get their email, of course, that it's really easy to upload into lemlist. And then, yeah, you can see like more automated campaigns. A lot of these, this is a combination in this campaign of angels and VCs, like VCs at some of the largest firms. And so I really go through this one when I'm in the review stage one by one to see, like, is there a message? Like, does this person, for instance, are they likely to have a team? If they're likely to have a team because they work for a VC firm, I'll usually modify it a little bit so it just targets them more generally. But in this campaign, first, all these outbound campaigns, if you're thinking about running one, it's the best people to contact are not people who you're trying to sell something to. The best people are actually people who can refer you to your customers. If you're just trying to sell people, I have some strategies for that, but in this context, it's really not going to work. So you want to add value to people up front. And in this way, I'm doing it in two ways. The first is I created a question list of the 30 top questions that investors should be asking companies that they're looking at investing in. And this is really based off of my own experience, based off of like questions people maybe should have asked me in my first startup that failed, all the way through like as I've worked with startups, invested in startups, and run others myself, things I've learned along the way, as well as my visualization practice, which you can read about. The Secret to Visualization is an ebook I wrote. It is probably the best. Well, I've been told it's the best book on visualization on the internet. And as well as my Visionary Sales Mindshift course, which are all resources that are really revolving around these things I've learned. In general, you want to look for the kind of like emotional barriers and insecurities people have around converting sales. And so that's what this question list that I'm sending people is all about. It actually is a really great resource, especially for people who might not really understand the problem. And we're getting to the bottom of entrepreneurs who are putting too much money and focus into building product and not enough focus into creating sales. Like if you're an entrepreneur out there, you should be creating a sales funnel in tandem or before with your product. Because what you're going to find is companies who do it the other way, they usually build a product that nobody wants. And so they have 2 or 3 additional product cycles before they actually get product market fit, which is a whole nother venture round. It's a year or 2 of additional pain and getting to market versus like actually seeing what people are going to buy, because marketing and sales are actually completely disconnected. Marketing and product are completely disconnected. And what I mean by that is you can have a great product and no customers. And we've all seen that before. So, I mean, that's no secret. And what I'm also here to tell you is that you can create a marketing funnel and not have a product and still make sales. Now, don't use this for evil. Don't take people's money and just go. But you can actually see if people are going to buy your product and respond to your message. And if they don't, you're going to change it. And that might also impact your product. So I'm saving you lots of time and money if you actually do this. And of course, my company, Jaron Lukasiewicz Strategy, can help you with this. We apply the market science method into actually iteratively testing your marketing campaigns to find that product market fit. So the second one, going back to my investor list, and again, I just want to be friends with more investors. So the second one is rough draft of my ebook. And what I'm doing here is I'm inviting them to be a contributor and review my ebook. If you've read the book Traction, or let's say like StoryBrand, like those are really what I'm kind of modeling this after. I really believe that the lessons in this book are on that level. And as we flesh this out, I'm eventually going to turn it into a real book. So this is just kind of the first draft, and I'm allowing these people to kind of like come into my market science cult and hopefully become big proponents of it and actually play an active role contributing to it too. So that's another sales campaign I have going on. Okay, PR writers. This is another interesting one. So I have another employee in the Philippines who is helping me put together lists for this one. And, I'm even going to pull up one of my lists. Let's see if I can easily do that. So, no, that's not going to be easy. So anyway, what I have is several columns, and I get really detailed in this one. This one's cool. So what I'm uploading here is, you're going to see in a second, it's literally kind of like a very tailored message to them. And then I love the article you wrote, put a link, and I mean, my response rate, let's look at it. 72% opened, 31% replied, 31% positive replies. And yeah, I basically need to dump a lot more people into this one. This one I want to build. The reason I'm doing this one is I want to build relationships with people who are out there writing. Like, these are just people who I think are interesting. And I also want them to be contributors to market science. So if we look here, well, fuck. All right, we can't do that. But basically what I'm doing in this campaign is, if you look at the first sentence, I'm quoting an article. I'm just writing a sentence that I found interesting. Of course, I review everything. The review actually takes me some time, but I have my employee who is offshore actually writing all of, like, they're finding the articles, they're finding the writers, they're finding the quotes to make. And I have to make changes, but she's learning and getting better and better. And so this one is, we're quoting them. Then I'll usually say a personal sentence on, like, why I loved what they said. And then I said, like, love your article. And then I put the link here. And the reason why I do that is it just, it kind of, if you're on the receiving end of this, I still love you, please reply. But, for people who might be on the receiving end of this, like, it just makes it look more legitimate. And in this world of, like, I mean, not everyone is using automated outbound software yet. So I think now is the time to be doing that. But something to realize with digital marketing is, like, as these become more and more prevalent, everyone's going to be using them. They're still, like, not that easy to use today, and not everyone knows how to hire offshore employees. But if you need to, I have the hookup. So just shoot me a message, shoot me an email. So, basically you want to stay ahead, and lemlist is one piece of software that's going to allow you to do that. Now, moving on, also, I want to talk about influencer marketing for just a second. Use the influencer marketing platforms like Grin, but realize that if it's now easy to reach everyone on Instagram, and a lot of marketers are going to start using it because it's so easy, your message is going to get crowded out. So you need to build some strategies that allow you to keep that essence of automation, but for platforms where they don't already have the grin of, like those kinds of platforms that really facilitate it. So an example, for instance, is go find influencers on Quora. There's your tip for the day. All right. So it's pretty simple. Here's another one I did with some YouTube podcasters, just testing out some marketing strategies. This is an example of sometimes you need to say no to good ideas. And you can see I'm almost 70% open rate, 32% reply, 20% interested. And I just have too many ideas that I have. So sometimes, like this, the whole point of this campaign was to test if this idea was valid or not. Clearly it probably is, but it's probably not big enough. So we're just saving that one. Maybe I'll get back to it another time. Anyway, and then we can look at my founders real quick. That has a 90% open rate. Nice. 20% click. So that means they're visiting my website and then being retargeted. And then we have this 31% reply rate. We need to work on, a lot of these people are just busy, but we'll get this interested one up. But I would say out of 100 emails sent, 13% reply rate is pretty good. So that's pretty much it. If you have any other questions, just let me know in the comments. Again, lemlist is a great piece of software. I'm really not trying to shill them. I just spent like way, way, way more hours than I should have. I probably spent at least 30 hours trying different platforms for email automation. This is outbound email automation, so not the same as MailChimp, ActiveCampaign. That's like a whole other bucket. And this is the best one if you're an entrepreneur. So go ahead and try it. In the meantime, if you are having trouble as an entrepreneur, check out one of my ebooks. They're both on my website. If you are trying to create growth strategies, check out Market Science. This is literally all of my cumulative experience as an entrepreneur over the last 10 years boiled down into what matters for gaining traction with customers. So if you're trying to find product market fit, or you're maybe like you have product market fit, but you're actually trying to test new strategies to grow further and you feel stuck, this is the answer to that. And it's a very short read. It's very easy to implement. And it's pretty simple. We are applying the scientific method to your startup. So check that out. And if you need help with it, hit me up, shoot me an email. And with that, I'll see you tomorrow, or actually I won't see you tomorrow because I'm going to visit a friend in Utah and take a long weekend. So I will see you Monday. We're going to have more interviews next week as well. So don't miss those. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. And yeah, let me know what tips you found useful in the comments and any other topics you'd like me to cover in the future. I'll just like do videos on whatever you tell me. Take care. Stay visionary. Okay, stay visionary.